Hi, this is Dina with Pretty Productive. We're a mother-daughter Etsy shop that sells items for both budgeting and planner. Today what we're going to be doing is the April month end kind of recap of where we ended on the budget, and then also set up the May budget. So I live in Arizona, so we are still under a continued stay-at-home, I don't want to say the word warning because that's not the right word, but mandate, I guess, would be the word. I was hoping, like other states, where some of the things would be lifted as of the 30th. So I waited to do this budget till I found out what my state was doing. So it does affect my cash stuffing for my envelopes because I'm having to do more online. There are actually some places that will not take cash right now, which is odd, but I understand it. So you're gonna see that in my budget this month of how I'm setting up my cash envelopes and how I'm tracking the categories. Even though I may not be using cash, I may be using my Capital One card, but I'll kind of show you when we get to May what I did so that I'm not overspending, but I'm still staying within my budget. So let's start with our April recap. If you've been to our channel before, you've seen this. This is where I lay out my budget. I do want to note I've had a few subscribers and a few of our customers from our Etsy shop ask if they could have this, and absolutely. So if you put a note on your order in the comment section or a note to seller that you would like this sheet, I will go ahead and throw it in. One customer also asked if she could have the Excel file as on an email, which I did for her as well. So that way she could personalize it and put in formulas if she wanted. So if that is something that you would like, that you feel would help you, absolutely. Just send me a note and I'll include a hard copy with your order, and then I can send you the digital file as well. So when we look at April, we did pretty well. It's amazing how much less money you spend when you can't go anywhere or do anything. So I was kind of hoping that a few things would open, but again, I would rather be safe and cautious than rush things. So we'll see how it goes in the states that are currently opening. So when we look at, let me go back first. So sometimes I don't do this on camera, but this is how I lay out my budget. So my husband and I both get paid once a month now. So that's very different for us because before I got paid monthly and he got paid every other week. So it was more of a budgeting, you know, what was going to come out of each check, and did I need to pull from one check for another check. So, you know, it was a little bit more, I had to be aware of when things were coming out of my account. When you're both paid monthly at the beginning of the month, it doesn't really matter when it comes out because it's just one lump sum of money. It's not like I have more money coming in. So I started doing this and my checkbook when, you know, money was super tight. We had a lot of debt at that time and we were really just, you know, going paycheck to paycheck. So it is nicer now that we're both being paid monthly and he is retired and working another job to just be able to lay my month out. And if I want to pay everything up front, I can. If I want to let it flow out like it's due, I can do that as well. So, but I do still like this visual of when things are coming out. So my coding system is yellow is fixed expenses. My green for this month were subscriptions, so my Elements Massage and Ally Edwards came out. Blue was debt, so for my Barclay, Apple, and my Chase card, those their due dates. My insurance, I considered a fixed expense. My water bill and my electric bill, my natural gas bill. Audible was a subscription. Pest control, I put $30 here, but it's actually going to come out in May, but I kind of use it like a sinking fund. Life insurance and the internet. So everything has cleared for the month. And then when I look at my cash envelopes, we had some wins and some losses, but I'll call it a win at the end of the day. I have $33 left, so I guess that's a win in some ways. Down here I made notes from my sinking fund, which is Christmas/gifts. I pulled out $100, $50 for Ellie's birthday and $50 for Caden's birthday. And I'm finding that this is helping me to remember when I go to deposit my sinking funds at the end of the month, not to put the full amount down that I thought I was going to put down, but to put down the actual amount minus what I've used. So for my categories for groceries, I had $81 going into the last week of the month, and I was going to be over, because between HelloFresh and a grocery store trip that I did. So what I did, I took $80 from my eating out fund, because I still had $120 in that envelope, and I knew we weren't going to use that. We've eaten out very little. So I took the 80 from that envelope and put it into my groceries. And then I spent the last 40 that was in that, so my balance is 0. So for my groceries, the 81 that I had plus the 80 that I took from my eating out envelope, minus what I spent, I have $33 remaining. So I think if I grab my envelope, and I've had questions. These envelopes are from our Etsy shop called Pretty Productive. So they're laminated envelopes. You have a choice of either having them hole punched or trimmed to fit into the 6-ring binders. So the Filofax one is probably the most popular. And then we do also sell custom labels, or we have like a set one, and then you could have them either black or foiled. I like the look of foil, so I have mine foiled. There's also 6 different fonts. So for groceries, what I do is I just throw all my receipts in there, so I can take those out and throw them out. I have my divider tab, and I should have $33, and I do. And then each envelope has a check register that you can keep your transactions in, is front and back. And then we also sell these as pack of 12 now. That was a request from customers that have purchased envelopes and asked if they could have, if we could sell these separately, which we do now. For eating out, this should be totally empty, just a bunch of paper. And then I'm gonna just flip it for this month and throw my receipts away. Okay, so giving, since church has been online, giving was completely left in the account, and I've just done my tithing online, so this is empty. Allowance, I had $50 left for the week, which I of course spent. I think I have $9 left in my wallet. Entertainment and recreation, I had taken 40 and 60 out at the beginning of the month before everything kind of went south. And so I left the balance in the account. So I had 100 for entertainment and 100 for recreation, and I've spent all of that. And then personal care, I had a massage scheduled that was canceled at the end of March. And then I had put money in here for the massage tip as well as for a pedicure, which of course never happened. So the $100 remains in this envelope. And I just heard from Elements Massage, which is what where I have a subscription to. They are not going to charge us our monthly fee for the month of May, because they don't think they're going to reopen until June 1st. I think they're going to start scheduling June 1st. So I am not going to fund this envelope. I'm going to leave it as it is, because by the time they open, I'll be able to have, you know, my tip in here for the massage. And then if by chance a nail salon opens, then I could always have a pedicure and I'll have the cash in here. So that is my plan with those envelopes. So at the end of the month, I ended up, instead of $500 for groceries, I ended up using $580 as my budget. I spent $547. I have $33 remaining. Eating out, I had $200 as my budget. I took the $80 and moved it to groceries, so my new budget became $120. I spent $120. I have $0. Giving, my budget was $400. I spent $400. $0. Allowance, my budget was $200. I spent $200. $0. Entertainment and recreation I talked about. And then personal care, I never put money in for the month of April because I still had my money left from March. So I think overall pretty good. We are all three still working from home. So you're gonna see when you look at my budget for like electric and water, I'm gonna put more in than I had last year, just because I know it's going to be more. It was more this month. Okay, so here's my coding for this month. I'm going to be using a newer kit to our shop. And I don't make you sit here while I put my kits down, because it's forever. Like, I don't know what my problem is. I cannot put a sticker down straight to save my life. It is all removable matte, so that is a saving grace, because you can lift it up and put it down many times. So this is the kit. So these are the budget headers. These are what I call the budget strips, the thick washi and the thin washi. They can be all bought separately, or you can buy it as a kit. It's actually less expensive to buy it as a kit. I think it's $11 if you buy it as a kit. And then the sheets are, I think, $3 or $3.50 if they're bought separately. And then we do make them for both the 7x9 Erin Condren, which is this one, or the larger 8.5 by 11 monthly deluxe. So just wanted to let you know that. And then these are the check boxes that I'm going to use. These are the color waves that I'm going to use for this month. So purple, blue, yellow, pink, and red. Red's going to be my unbudgeted. No, red is my debt, and purple's going to be unbudgeted this month. And then we do also make, and these should all be listed in the shop. We are redoing a lot of things in the shop right now. But these are additional colors that are offered. And if there's a color that you want that you use in your budgeting, just let me know. I'm sure we can do it. The colors are actually the Erin Condren colors. So we use the Erin Condren color codes so that they do match the Erin Condren colors that they use. So just if that bothers you or is important to you. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to go ahead and actually start with this lovely chart. I started using this about 4 or 5 years ago when I started following Dave Ramsey, and we were working really hard to get out of debt, set up our sinking fund, set up our all of our budgeting, and just kind of getting control of our finances, because we've always had steady incomes, we've made good money, and we have spent as much as we make. So I think it doesn't really matter what your income is. If you're spending like you have more than you do, then you have the same situation. So and I will say my husband is much more of a saver than I am. I've had to learn to save. It does not come to me naturally. Naturally, I am a spender at heart. And I've worked really hard to stay within my budget, and also to kind of make progress. And you're going to see a lot of progress this month with debt, which is very exciting. Okay, so I just take our incomes and I split the checks into two. I have one daughter who pays me $200 a month, and that pays for her insurance and her phone. The other one pays $180. I do get an expense check for $154, so my total income is $10,334. We are very fortunate in that through all this COVID-19, our incomes have stayed the same. Now, we are working from home. We both traveled for work. We are no longer traveling. I have a company vehicle, but I am paying for gas now, because before it was included, but since we're all on a stay-at-home, they're not paying our gas right now, which is literally a drop in the bucket with the way gas prices are right now. But other than that, we've been very fortunate that we haven't been furloughed, and we haven't had pay cuts or loss of jobs. So, we've been very blessed, and I hope you're in a similar situation. So we've been able to stay on track. So I know that there are a lot of videos out right now that if you are not as fortunate and you are struggling, you're in what they call a storm mode. And storm mode is you literally just batten down the hatches, and you pay food, keep your lights on, keep shelter, and everything else, and transportation, and everything else just kind of stays on the side. So if you are currently in the debt snowball, you literally just pay the minimums just to keep everything going. I know right now student loans have been deferred, or I think they're deferred, which is good because they aren't charging you interest during that deferment. So if a student loan is a big part of your income and your income is compromised right now, call your lender and just have a conversation. I did find when we were really struggling, you know, just having a conversation with a creditor, really, they were a lot more willing to help if I just picked up the phone and said, hey, you know, I know that this is what I owe you this month, but I just can't do it. You know, can I work something out? And they've been really accommodating. So just don't be hesitant, you know, to ask for help and to give them a call. So that's income. So our mortgage is $3,300. Now we are escalating that. My husband did retire and then went back to work. I am not close to retirement yet, but I do want my house paid off before I get to retire because I really don't want a mortgage payment. So what I did was I took our principal amount and I divided it by 12. And so I add that additional principal payment onto my payment every month. And so what that does is it's like making a 13th payment over the year. So it can take up to 5 years off the life of your mortgage by just making that one additional payment every single year. The other thing we did was we refinanced to a 15-year mortgage from a 30-year mortgage, which forces us to, and it really was only a difference of a couple $100s a month, so it really wasn't that much when you look at the life of the loan. But it does help us to get that paid down faster. So, you know, if they say if you take out a 30-year mortgage, you pay it in 30 years. If you take out a 15, you have to pay 15. We did not refinance during all of this because I know the rates are lower, but when you weigh out the closing costs versus the, the savings and the interest, if the life of our loan was longer, then I would definitely say it would be worth it, but it really kind of was a wash for us, but it might be something you can look at. My cell phone went down, and I think it's because my phone is paid off now. But I really need to look at my bill because I don't know why it went down. I'm thinking that's it. So I have an office phone that gets reimbursed from the company. It's $45. Our internet bill is $100. Now that we did able to negotiate this down because we bought our own router and we're not renting Cox anymore. And that saves us like almost $30 a month. Netflix is $15. My water bill did go up this month. It is $163. Electric, I don't know. Now when I look at what it was last year for the month of May, it was $192. My May bill was $192. I know it's going to be more than that because first of all, April had all three of us working from home. So computers on all day, lights on all day, running the dishwasher, everything. So I'm planning for $400. If it's less, great. That money goes back into, my budget and I reallocate it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be higher. We're already hitting 105 this weekend. So it's going to be a long month. So I'm going to put 400 and then we'll see where that comes out. Life insurance is 106. That's for my husband and I. Auto insurance is 303. Gas bill for last year. I should have just looked at that when I had this here. So what I did at the beginning of the year is I just went through and I plotted out all of my fixed expenses, what we paid last year by month. So what I used to do is go onto the app and look at what last year's bill was, and I felt like while I was looking it up, I might as well write them all down. So that's where this information came from. So my gas bill last year was $42. It was $35 this month. We do now have gas washer, dryer, water heater, and stove. So we do have more natural gas appliances this year than last year. But I'm going to put 50 down. Again, we're doing more laundry. We're running the dishwasher more. I already see it in my water bill's gone up like $30 since this has all started. Pest control, we will have service this month. I think they're going to be doing service this month. It's scheduled, and that's $90. So elements, as I said earlier, they're not going to charge this month, and that's normally $70. So I'm going to write $70 because that's what it is, but my actual will be $0. Allie Edwards is 15, and Audible is 16. So let me just add this up. HOA was due last month, so it's not due this month. I normally just take $75 and just kind of roll it in, but I did that with the money that I had extra last month for the electric bill and the gas bill that I had overestimated. So I just left it in the account. So I'm not going to take out the 75 or 78 that I normally do. Okay. So this is how I back into my sinking funds, is I add up everything that I know and my cash envelopes, and then what I do is I back into sinking funds. You'll see that over here. So my fixed expenses for the month of May will be $5,053. Now that's with a few estimates in here, so it may change a little bit, but pretty much these are kind of fixed, meaning that I can't ignore, you know, if money's tight, I can't decide not to pay my mortgage or my life insurance, things like that. So I pretty much don't have a lot of control in here. Where I do have some control and wiggle room is over here in my lifestyle. So for giving, I'm going to budget $400. For groceries, I'm going to stick with $500. I have kind of gone through the HelloFresh menus for the month. I probably will do 2, and so that leaves me with, it's 120, so 380. That would be just grocery store run, so $100-ish a week. I think sounds good. I'm going to put 200 in eating out because I think things are going to start to open up after the 15th. But there's been some great deals, so when we just really are tired of eating our own food, like Olive Garden's had some good specials, Texas Roadhouse, so we've gotten some great deals. I have avoided Grubhub, Uber Eats, some of those just because I find that when I was ordering from them, my food was cold. I think they were probably doing multiple drop-offs and pickups and everything, so I just figured it's easier just to go get it myself. Allowance 200, entertainment and recreation. I'm going to put 200, but I am not putting, I'm not stuffing them in cash because everything that I took out in cash, I had to go put back into my account last month. I'm going to put $100 for household. Personal care, I'm not going to fund because I still have the money there. Medical copays, I'm going to do 100. I just wrote out 2 today that was 60. Yeah, I better take that to 200 because I've already spent 60 of the 100. So this costs 120. Now I don't go to the doctor, but my husband has a lot of doctor's appointments, so craft supplies, I'm changing this from shop to the real category it is, which is craft supplies. I'm going to put 200 there. My Etsy shop, I am going to put 200. So I did mention at the beginning of the video that we do have an Etsy shop called Pretty Productive. We are a newer shop, so technically we opened a year ago, but we didn't post our first item until June. So all the money that I've made from the shop is right now just in an account. I have not pulled from that. So I've been paying for everything out of my budget for setup costs, equipment costs, everything like that. So I'm at the point now where I can start to pull from that to pay for replenishment of supplies. So I don't know how this is going to go. So we'll see how this goes. Because it really does cycle with Etsy. You know, some months we're super busy, some months we're a little bit quieter. It just really depends. Because we've had so much going on at home, we haven't done a lot of new releases, so we are getting ready to do a ton of new releases and new listings. So that's exciting. So my lifestyle, which for cash envelopes is giving, groceries, eating out, allowance, normally this but not right now, personal care, actually giving right now is not a cash envelope. And the rest of these are going to stay in my account for right now until everything calms down. So my lifestyle expenses, and I probably should add more to groceries since I keep going over, but I don't know. We're starting to kind of eat a little bit more frugally. I think in the beginning we were kind of really stocking up on foods, and then I felt like we were wasting things. So I did kind of cut back and go to the store a little bit more often. If I get up and go first thing in the morning, there's a selection, and B, there is a little bit, you know, I can go more often. It's not as crowded. Okay, so debt snowball. This is very exciting for me. I did pay off my Chase card last month. I was going to pay it off this month because my interest-free term was going to end at the end of May. But I went ahead and took some of my money from my year-end bonus and just paid it off. So I am going to put a payment of $100 in here. So there's $92 that get billed to that account every month that are Etsy-related fees. So things like our domain site, Canva, Creative Market, things like that, of different apps that we use for the shop. So when I add those up, it comes up to like $92. So I'm going to write $100. So I will still be making that $100 payment even though I don't have a balance. So that will just clear the card every month. It could come out of this amount, but I'm going to leave this money just for if we need to buy sticker paper or we need to, you know, buy different supplies, foil, things like that. And then my Barclay Apple, I owe $975. It is an interest-free card until 2021. I'm going to pay $200 this month, but I may at the end of the month, based on how I do on my budget, I may just pay the balance off, or I'll pay the balance off in June. I'm not really sure yet what I'm going to do. So debt will be $300, which is the least it has been in years. So that's super exciting. Okay, so that leaves me with my sinking fund. So the balance can go to that. So I have 5053 for fixed expenses, lifestyle 2200, debt snowball 300, minus 10334. So sinking funds is set 2781. Okay. That is stupid not to pay off the Apple card. Okay. Okay, so just to kind of give you a little bit of my thought process, which, you know, you can agree or disagree with. It's a very personal choice. I'd rather just get it done. Even though I'm not being paid charged interest, all of my sinking funds are not critical. You know, Story Camp is until October. Gyms aren't open, so that's not critical. Medical is not critical because we have a medical spending account. Vacation isn't until September. Christmas gifts, you know, Christmas is a while away. A computer, and this is a new sinking fund, is not critical, and my emergency fund, my $1,000 emergency fund is fine. So let's just knock it out and get it done, and then we can fund sinking funds next month. Okay. So it still leaves me $2,006 for sinking fund. So I kind of just decide how I'm going to allocate that, and then at the end of the month is when I transfer everything into the account. So one thing that I did do was I opened up some Capital One 360 savings accounts attached to my Capital One card. So if you're new to my channel, I bill all of my like subscriptions and some of my groceries like HelloFresh, anything that I'm using online to my Capital One credit card. And then at the end of the month, I clear the card. So when I originally thought that I was not going to do any cash this month, I opened up some different savings accounts, and I've moved all of my sinking funds to Capital One out of my credit union. And there's a couple of reasons why I did that. One is that I figured that if I was using my Capital One for all of my funds I would normally use cash for, then I couldn't overspend if I took that money from my checking account, moved into the Capital One savings account, and then when my card came out, that's how I was going to pay the bill. So instead of leaving it in my checking account and spending it twice, once on the Capital One and once by, doing something else with it, it was already there. When you transfer the money in, you can only do so many transfers out, but you can pay bills out of that. So particularly to the Capital One. So I set that all up. And the Capital One card is like a the Capital One savings accounts are like a 1.5% interest, which I was like, well, that's really not much. I took our flooring account that we had at the credit union, which I think made $1 or $2 on interest, and I moved it over to the Capital One this morning because I looked at my $300 Story Camp fund that I already had at Capital One and my $1,000 Christmas fund, and my Christmas fund made more interest than my flooring fund that was at the credit union. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I know we're not going to use it for a while. We're not going to redo our floors until everybody is back to work because we can't have 3 of us here and demo. It's not going to work well. So I did that today, and then I also opened up all of my sinking funds except for vacation have been moved over to Capital One, because if I'm not using them anytime soon, and when I go to use them, like when I'm on vacation, I'm going to take my Capital One card with me, and then I can just pay it back. That way they're working on the conversion and everything else. So it just made sense to me. The other flip side of that is that my savings accounts or my sinking funds that are in savings accounts at the credit union, I can access with my debit card. So if I'm, decide on a whim I want to go spend money and the money's not in my checking account, it's definitely in my savings account, and I can just debit, and I've done it before. So I can't do that any longer. So it's just a way to kind of force myself to save more and to have that cooling off period. Now again, you may not be that personality. I know I am. So that's what I did. So I've moved the Story Camp over there. Fitness is over there. Medical is not, because that's kind of just a fluid account. I have not moved vacation yet. Christmas and gifts has been moved. I've set up a savings for the computer, and then I'm leaving my $1,000 emergency fund that I have now at my credit union because I can access that in an emergency, where the Capital One I wouldn't be able to get cash out like in a moment because it's a little bit longer of a process. So that's where sinking funds lay right now, and then we talked about that already. So if I have 2006 for sinking funds, I'm gonna finish off Story Camp. So that is another, I need 800, no wait, I need 800 in this account, so I'm going to put 500 here. So my new balance will be 800, and that is my goal. So this is a conference that got moved from May. I've already paid for the conference plus the plane ticket, which I still need to change, but American, because of the situation, is not going to change me a fee to do that. And then my hotel reservation got moved over to the new dates, and this will be for the hotel and food. So then everything for that trip will be paid for. Fitness I'm not going to fund. I did find out that we had a wellness benefit, so I'm getting $300 check back from massages and a app that I purchased for yoga. So that $300 I'll just put into fitness when I get that back. Vacation, my expense check goes into this account, so I'm just going to put 200 here. I'm pretty much done there. This is for a river cruise, and what happened when the cruise got canceled for June and rolled into September, they gave us a bonus credit. So the bonus money upgraded our cabins, gave us, paid for all the gratuities. So some of the money that I had been putting aside for this is going to be covered with that bonus from the cancellation. And then there's still money. So some of the money will also go towards excursions once they're all finalized. So I know I'm going to want to take money with me, but some of the things I had been saving for are now going to be covered, which is great. Christmas and gifts I'm going to come back to. I am going to go ahead and start to fund this. So computer fund is, I have an iMac now, and it's about 4 years old. And so I have found, since I've had iMacs for the last 15 years, I have found that about 5 to 6 years is about their lifespan. So when I replace it, I'm not going to buy a desktop again. I'm going to buy the laptop and a monitor, and that way I have the flexibility. So I don't need one now, but I do need to have about $2,000 put aside for when that happens and it just dies on me, because I don't want to do what I did last time, which was I opened up the Barclay Apple Card. They have interest-free financing, and then I've been paying it off. So I'd rather just have the money ready to go and just pay for it. So I am going to start funding that. And so I think what I'll do, so I have 2006 to go in. I'm going to take out the 500 for story camp. I'm going to take out 200 for vacation. I think what I'll do is put 500 in gifts and Christmas, because I know I'm going to take money out this month for gifts, because I've got a couple of birthdays this month. So that's 1,200 minus 2. So that gives me 806 to put into the computer. Nice start. And then when next month, since all my debt will be paid off, then I'm going to start building my emergency fund. Now, we already have our 3 to 6 month emergency fund at another bank that is just there as a precaution. But I also want to have a personal emergency fund that's attached to my accounts. So I'm going to start building this up, and I really haven't decided on an amount, because I don't, traditionally I would say 3 to 6 months, but I think for me, I'm going to keep it, probably about 2 months. And that's really just, it's not to replace your income, it's because you don't have to pay this. You wouldn't be putting money into sinking funds, but really what you're going to look at is your fixed expenses and your lifestyle expenses. So if you had to survive without an income for 3 to 6 months, this is the number you need to protect, because everything else could be put to the side. Like, you could cancel your subscriptions. You definitely wouldn't be adding to sinking funds if you don't have debt payments. So this is what I need to look at. So I just need to kind of look at the math and see what I want to do, and how I want to set that up. So I'm not going to lose my husband's retirement, but I say I lost my income, then that's the number I would need to replace. So just kind of talking it out loud, you're like, okay, just get on with it. So if this is done correctly, it balances. Now, when these come through, so my electric bill, my gas bill, if those come in less, then I can take that extra money and either fill in an envelope that is depleted, that maybe I needed more in, or cover an unbudgeted, or I could put it into one of the sinking funds. So that's kind of where where that money lands. Okay. So hopefully this will not be a 10-hour video, but let's go ahead and do the cash envelopes, and then I can fill out this part off camera, and then I'll fill out all this off camera because you saw it on here. So I just take this information and I transfer it into income, sinking funds, debt snowball, fixed expenses, and then I do my weekly check-in, and then transactions are on the back. Okay, so let's look at the weekly check-in. So groceries, budget's $500. Eating out, budget's $200. Giving, budget's $400. Allowance, budget's $200. Entertainment, recreation is $200. I'm not even going to write personal care down because I'm not funding it this month. I'm going to write household, 100, and clothing, which was, I did not add clothing on here. That's a problem. Okay, so that's why I use erasable pens. Very important. And take in and out so fast. So I'm going to take 200 out of sinking funds. I'm going to add 200 into lifestyle. Okay. It did escalate really fast in Arizona. So it went from beautiful 70, 80s to 105 this weekend. So definitely need some summer clothes. Not that I need work clothes at all. Okay, so this is where we're gonna go. Now, when we look at stuffing the envelopes, because I really didn't want to put the full amount in, or even my 2-week amount that I normally put in, because I wasted a lot of time going back and forth last month with bringing in, bringing out. So I kind of decided to do it a little bit differently. So I still like to keep my allowance in cash, because that's something just to run to the store, you know, if I want to go to Starbucks or whatever and I just want to take it out of my allowance, then I like to have that in cash. So 50 for this week, and then 50 will go underneath my tab that stays at home along with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tab, put the 50 for next week back into my envelope, and then I'm going to take this 50 and put it in my wallet. I'll put that over to the side. I don't track that category because of the fact that it's my one category I don't track it. When the money's gone, the money's gone. But I don't feel like, you know, if you can have one category that you're not micromanaging, it's just a little bit of a a little bit of a freedom. So giving, we're not going to put money in because we're having to do that online. So I'm just going to put this envelope to the side. Eating out, I am going to put in 100, I think it was, because I'm still able to use cash. I prefer that, and I really haven't been given a lot of pushback. I did have to we ordered pizza and I had to do that online, but that leaves me still $100 in the account for eating out. So hopefully I won't have to put any of this back in the month. So 100 is going into eating out. And then for, let's see, allowance is funded. And then I took this out really weirdly. So let's see, 20, 40, 60, 80, 1, 20, 40, 60, 80. Okay, so 180 is going to go into groceries. So I went to the bank and they weren't open yet, so they have limited hours. So I was like, oh great, I don't want to come back. So I used my debit card So everything was in 20s. So I was able to break out one of the 20s from my husband's money clip. And then everything else, I was like, that's what I love about going to the bank is you can literally say, I need this many 5s, this many 10s, 20s, whatever. But it's been really off with their hours. They are inside the Super Walmart, but you know, again, they're limited hours. You have to wait till somebody leaves before you can go up to the teller. So I just was like, I'm done. So we're gonna start with 180. I have not been doing Instacart or any of those meal delivery. I've just been going to the grocery store, and we've been to Costco and Sam's Club. We're still able to use cash there. So I really feel like, other than HelloFresh, I can do my groceries cash. Now I still have the 33 in here from last month. I'm actually going to take it out because this messed me up completely when I was doing eating out, because I had money left over and then I couldn't figure it out. So I'm just going to take it out and put it in my little tab for savings. It's my old one. I've got my new one in there. Okay, and then personal care should still have the $100 left. I don't think anything should have been pulled out here. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. And I do always keep this broken out because if you want to tip and everything, it's just easier if you have different people working on you. And then recreation, which is recreation entertainment, I'm going to leave all in the account because I literally kept putting it in and out last month. Okay, so those are the cash envelopes. It's written in here. Then at the end of the week, I'll write down everything that I spent and then what's remaining, and then I just carry that down each week. I normally don't film this except for like the week 2 check-in, just to keep myself on track. But if you have any questions on that, let me know. And then as bills come in, I will update this and then transfer all of this information into here. But this video would be like 3 hours long. A couple little quick things that I want to note that have come up as questions. What do you do with these when you're done? And I just filed them. So it's just a record for me to kind of go back and say, okay, well, I've been doing groceries for $500 for 6 months now, and I go over every month. Obviously that number doesn't work for me. Eating out used to be my category that I went way over, so I did up that to $200, but now with everything going on, I'm not going over in that. I'm going over in groceries. So it's just a nice way to kind of look back and kind of how your spending fluctuates. I know in Arizona that my utility bills are going to go super high in the month of June, July, and August, sometimes September. So I have to cut back in other categories to accommodate that. We used to have a program in Arizona where you could equalize your bills. So they would take your bills over the year, divide it by 12 months. So you paid maybe $300 a month instead of $90 in December and paying $500 in June or July. They took away that program. So now what I do is I just kind of keep in my mind and the back of my book what I'm looking at. So I know that, okay, July is a heavy birthday month for us. My HOA is going to be due and my electric bill is going to be high. So I probably will not have sinking funds in the month of July because all of the money will be reallocated for other bills. So that's kind of just when you're setting up your budget, one thing to look at, because that helps you to not panic when all of a sudden you have, this really high bill and you have a really high, all of a sudden your HOA is due because it's quarterly and, all these other things are going on. I know that July is an expensive month for me because I think we have like 7 or 8 birthdays in our family in that month. So it's always a really expensive month. And that's why I have a sinking fund for gifts, so that if I don't have extra money, I can take it from my sinking funds. Okay, so that is it. That is April recap and May budget. Please let me know down below if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed, please do so. And hit the bell for an alert for our next video. I appreciate all your support. I hope you're all staying very safe and healthy out there, and that you are slowly being able to have a little bit more freedom and flexibility depending on where you live. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.